Hello and welcome to this very special presentation from the Barunga Festival 2023. I'd like to pay my respects to the Bagala clan of the Jawoyn people whose land we're on today, their elders past, present and emerging. Thank you so much for welcoming us and having us here. We're putting together a very special presentation around rheumatic heart disease, what it is, the efforts that are being done to eradicate it in remote communities, and we'd also like to give you some insights into how you at home might be able to help with the efforts, the community-led efforts to eradicate RHD in regional and remote communities.
We're here at Barunga Festival offering healthy skin and healthy heart education and screening and engaging with the community to teach them about the importance of heart health and staying healthy. This is a life-changing condition that affects up to 1 in 10 kids in remote communities and is 100% preventable. Common skin conditions and normal bacteria that live on all of us can, in certain people, lead to permanent changes to the heart, how it pumps, how the doors that are inside the heart function and open and close, and can lead to heart failure and even the need for surgery to keep kids healthy and alive. In communities like Barunga, we still see high rates of acute rheumatic fever and rheumatic heart disease, with up to 1 in 20 kids and young adults having rheumatic heart disease, which is 100% preventable. We also see congenital heart disease at about 1 in 100, and we see that about 1 in 4 to 1 in 2 kids have common skin conditions that are all treatable and can, in time, lead to increased rates of rheumatic fever and rheumatic heart disease. So we've got this opportune moment to build health literacy and build confidence in the community to prevent all of this from happening.
Scabies is a parasitic mite infestation, so it's effectively a little bug that burrows underneath the skin. The parasitic mite effectively jumps from human to human through direct skin contact. It's often transmitted through sharing beds, a lot of people living in the same room or in the same house, and I guess that's where things like environmental measures, such as being able to access cleaning facilities and to wash bed sheets, these things are really important. The reason that scabies is a problem, it predominantly affects small children. It has the potential to affect their early growth and development, as well as meaning that they're high risk for developing secondary complications, including post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis and rheumatic heart disease.
I live with rheumatic heart disease. I was diagnosed when I was 14. I actually had a heart attack and went downhill, but I've had my mitral valve repaired. We didn't know what rheumatic heart disease or ARF was. We should have known about it. There definitely needs to be more awareness of it. I think we have a higher ARF rate. There's more people getting diagnosed regularly with ARF and rheumatic heart disease, and some people go undiagnosed, like myself. Just look out for sore throats, go to the clinics. If you've got skin sores, go to the clinic. And if you feel, like you're short of breath or struggling to walk because your joints are sore, always go to the clinic. I want no one to have to get to the stage of having mitral valve repairs or any valve repairs.
So we know in the Australian context that besides sore throats, common skin conditions like school sores and scabies greatly increase the risk of rheumatic fever and rheumatic heart disease. So having something like the AIG laundries helps people keep their clothes and their bedding clean, reducing the rates of group A strep and the load in the community, and therefore eventually will hopefully lead to a reduction in rheumatic fever and rheumatic heart disease.
We have a responsibility to do it, and I hope that one day the Heart Foundation is going to be there when we say that we've removed rheumatic heart disease from all of the remote communities of the Northern Territory and the top end of Australia. And as you know, our target in Australia with the rheumatic heart disease endgame is to do this by 2031. I think that's hanging by a thread at the moment, I really do, but it's still imaginable with very strong federal government support, community support, and partnerships like those we now have with the Aboriginal Investment Group for the Laundries Project. I think it's still imaginable, and we have to keep on imagining it, otherwise it'll just drop away from us.
I unfortunately have very high rates of rheumatic heart disease in the electorate of Arnhem, as we do unfortunately right across the Northern Territory. It was something when I became a teacher that I was more aware of in terms of my family members in the community of Numbulwar and young people getting rheumatic heart disease and having to live with that long term. So being aware of what the causes are, the impact on life and the changes to lifestyle as well, but then also looking at what are the resolutions and the solutions that we can influence, such as the remote laundries that we have rolling out across some of our remote communities.
This is a Barunga AIG Remote Laundries facility. It's a free service to the community. It is definitely a service that's needed. The price of just getting a small washing machine is very hefty.
The Remote Laundries Project began 5 years ago with the board of directors from the Aboriginal Investment Group who represent the 7 northern regions of the Northern Territory, and they came to the board meeting with a really horrific statistic that 8 out of 10 Indigenous children will develop scabies before their first birthday. And they asked us to help them find a solution, and hence the remote laundry was built, the first prototype in Barunga. The beauty of the remote laundries is in its simplicity. It's 4 washers, 4 dryers, jam-packed into a 20-foot shipping container that provides free washing and drying services for Indigenous people in the communities where we deliver them.
What we have here is an asset that's owned by and is proudly run by people in the community. I think that's absolutely vital. There's enough things have been done to communities like this. This is something that's being done by... Hello, mate. This is something that's... Hello, mate. There you go. This is something that's being done by the community. I think that's possibly the most important part of it.
Being someone, in my teen years who had lived on the streets myself, the service would be important to street people. I know young people who've been affected by rheumatic heart disease, and I have a nephew who's passed away a couple of years ago from that as well. A young man was only in his 20s. That's why I wanted to become involved.
If people are, washing their clothes daily, that means that it reduces scabies, and if we have a reduction in scabies, that means in theory there should be a reduction in things like RHD, there should be a reduction in a range of other health conditions as well, but it also means that kids are more likely to go to school if they're not scratching with scabies and that sort of stuff. So the remote laundries, we think, play a really important role, but we've got to work with the remote laundries to understand exactly what impact that is having in those communities.
Having Aboriginal health practitioners is one of the most important things with community self-determination. These people, they understand their community, they know what's going on in their community, they can talk to their people one-on-one without offending anybody. It just makes such a huge difference. And what I found with the team here was there was such a ready acceptance to get away from the acute care into preventative care, and to be able to see that change in the community, that they're so much more healthier.
There's absolutely no point in being in the National Heart Foundation unless we're ambitious. We have a responsibility to be ambitious, and I think that's achievable. By early next decade, we could sit back and say we were part of a national effort to remove rheumatic heart disease from these communities once and for all, and we have to do that.
Look at healthier eating and more exercise, and always have yearly heart scans just to make sure everything's going okay.